Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. Continuing our look at Vanity Fair's cover story on Harry and Meghan, we learn even more about the production of Meghan's podcast. Vanity Fair quotes a former Spotify source. Archetypes was complicated as a podcast concept. You had to explain what the archetype was, then why the woman embodied it, but also how it wasn't true about her. Every episode was like, this is my friend who has been called that archetype but is not that archetype. Author Anna Peel writes, these archetypes, actually stereotypes, included diva, Mariah Carey, and bimbo, Paris Hilton, and Eliza Schlesinger. As for those friends, there was an expectation that Meghan would be able to use her personal Rolodex to book the show, the way hosts like Simmons and Pod Save America guys do. The person who worked in media projects says the assumption was Meghan's going to be on the phone with the Pope tomorrow. The former Spotify employee says, in addition to Taylor Swift, they heard rumors that Beyoncé and Meghan Thee Stallion were asked to come on the show and decline. Other people who worked on the podcast also say they heard some of those names mentioned, though a source close to the situation says Meghan Thee Stallion's team knew nothing about any request. We also learned more of Duchess' difficult accusations with someone described as a person who interacted with her professionally, saying, you can be yelled at even if somebody doesn't raise their voice. It's funny that people don't differentiate between the energy of being yelled at and literally somebody screaming at you. Peel adds, two sources say a colleague with ties to Archetypes took a leave of absence after working on 3 episodes, then left Gimlet altogether. Several others described taking extended breaks from work to escape scrutiny, exiting their job, or undergoing long-term therapy after working with Meghan. The person who interacted professionally with her says, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better. They added, with the soggy laugh of a plebe rendering judgment on the Duchess of Sussex, but who am I to criticize Meghan Markle? She's doing great. A source told the Daily Beast, I feel desperately sorry for the people affected because I have been there, but I also feel vindicated. All those people saying she's the world's greatest boss should be ashamed of themselves. It's obviously very tempting to work for her when you are being wooed and love-bombed, but people should be in no doubt she is a nightmare. I would think the atmosphere will be particularly hellish now everything is going to crap. She doesn't do disappointment well. Many royal watchers are wondering why Vanity Fair has switched sides on Meghan and Harry. In the Daily Mail, Tom Leonard explains, one answer is that it's reflecting the changing mood of the US media, which, once the couple's greatest champions, in recent times has turned sour. As it has shifted over time from fawning to frosty in its attitude to the Sussexes, the US press can console itself that the British media did precisely the same in the 2 years or so between their marriage and abrupt departure to North America. As the couple who tries so hard to win hearts and headlines discovered once more that there's only so much Sussex virtuousness that any country can take. Royal watchers believe the Vanity Fair piece could be devastating for the Sussexes. Royal author Tom Bower said, having strongly denied the accusations that she bullied her staff in Kensington Palace, the revival of her image of the difficult Duchess who torments her staff into seeking therapy to alleviate the misery of working for Meghan is a disaster just on the eve of the launch of Netflix's With Love, Meghan. Having invested so much to rebrand herself as a loving, caring Californian mother and wife, the VF disclosures have poisoned the smiling image of the welcoming homemaker. It's a bad weekend. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams adds, Harry is portrayed as lost, out of his depth and naive. The Sussexes are attempting to project a caring image by helping some of those affected by the cataclysmic wildfires currently ravaging California. They won't get far after publicity is given to this. Her With Love, Meghan cookery series is, judging from the trailer, saccharine and silly. Unenthusiastic online reaction might make the streaming giant think twice and dump it, and when their contract runs out later in the year, preserve very little of it, if any. They, especially Meghan, now have a lot to answer. Nobody likes bullies, especially entitled bullies. PR expert Nick Eade also weighed in. They don't seem to be able to do anything right in the eyes of the media, but now it seems in the eyes of their neighbours too. For such a well-respected publication to go all out against the couple is bound to have negative effects on their brand and status, and all eyes will be on them to see what happens next. Their brand keeps on getting battered, and it feels that the tide is turning on them in the US, and it's going to be hard for them to establish themselves properly as part of the Hollywood elite and as darlings of the nation, which they obviously wanted. The Daily Beast quoted a source described as one of the Duchess's former UK employees as saying, "I feel desperately sorry for the people affected because I have been there, but I also feel vindicated. It's obviously very tempting to work for her when you are being wooed and love-bombed, but people should be in no doubt she is a nightmare. I would think the atmosphere will be particularly hellish now that everything is going to shit. She doesn't do disappointment well." We'll continue to pick away at this Vanity Fair cover article as the week progresses, and this Sunday's Palace Weekly will feature a roundtable discussion of the article. Palace Weekly is our new additional episode available to all followers and comes out Sunday morning by 9 a.m. Eastern. A reminder that Palace Intrigue is available without commercials to paid subscribers. If you're on Apple Podcasts, just click the banner that says uninterrupted listening. If you use another podcast player, check the link in the show notes. After Harry's court settlement yesterday, Piers Morgan tweeted, "So, moral crusader Prince Harry took the cash. Will he now be issuing a full and unequivocal apology to the royal family for his own serious intrusion into their lives for personal financial gain? Or is royal intrusion absolutely fine when he does it? What a hypocrite." In the Telegraph, Victoria Ward writes, "The Duke of Sussex put everything on the line to take on Rupert Murdoch's media empire, his relationships with his family, his reputation, and his own post-royal career. However, it may have been presented the acceptance of a hefty 8-figure financial settlement from the publisher of The Sun will be considered by many as a humiliating climb down. Without the spectre of a long-awaited trial, one that threatened to cause significant reputational damage to newsgroup newspapers, his efforts to change the media landscape in the UK appear to have fallen rather flat. The Duke was not only said to be preparing to fly from California to give evidence in support of his claim, but to be relishing the very prospect. Just last month, he defiantly insisted that he would never settle, that he would pursue this case on behalf of the many hundreds who had no option but to throw in the towel. He was, he said, the last person who could achieve accountability to obtain closure for those who did not have the financial resources to have their day in court." NGN's 296-word statement read out before Mr. Justice Fancourt marked the first time the company has admitted unlawful activity at The Sun. However, it did not accept any liability on the part of journalists or executives working for the newspaper, despite the Duke's repeated insistence that he would expose a corporate cover-up. The statement did include an apology for the intrusion into the private life of the Duke's late mother Diana, Princess of Wales, reflecting a particular grievance that had eaten away at him for decades. Securing an admission on behalf of his mother was almost certainly a red line for the Duke, who has long wanted to secure justice and make her proud. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple, or the app of your choice, and leave us a review or 5 stars if you're enjoying the show. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.